Welcome to another episode of Luna Nectar Universe. Today we're so excited to be joined by relationship and dating coach Nicole Haley. She'll be giving us the 101 on finding love and dating in today's digital age.
Welcome, Nicole. How are you doing today?
So good. Thanks so much, ladies, for having me. This is exciting.
Yeah.
So we like to ask all our guests to kind of sign in with their astrological signs. What are your sun, moon, and rising signs?
Yes, I'm a Taurus. My moon is in Leo, and my rising sun is another Taurus.
Oh, very hardworking.
Hardworking and sensual.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
I like that word, right? That works.
That works with all the
Yeah.
love and dating. And
Yeah,
things.
that's true.
So tell us a bit about your journey in becoming a relationship coach. What led you to this path?
Yeah, my background is a counselor. I was doing it for years, and then I moved into coaching, and I was coaching women around confidence and really helping them to feel confident in who they are. And what I realize is that it's in their love life that they tend to find their confidence tends to shift. They can be really confident with their girlfriends or maybe in their career, but when it comes to their love life, it was a bit off. And so that's where I niched into it. But what gave me the skill level and the expertise in that is prior to that, I had gone through a breakup and I was in my early 30s and I thought I had found the one. You know, that moment where you're like, yes, this is it. I can take myself off dating for good. And really invested in that relationship and thought it was going to go the distance. And we came back on a trip, seeing family and friends, and we're parking the car, unloading it. And he's like, Nicole, I just have something I want to tell you. And I'm like, great, where's dinner? Like, that's what I was thinking. He's like, no, actually, I just want to be your friend. And I was like,
oh no.
What? And it caught me so off guard that I became that girl you see in movies where you throw your stuff all on the ground, and I kicked his tires and I was like losing it. Because in my mind, I was like, you've got to be kidding. Another breakup? Like, this isn't going to go.
Yeah, it's one of those like, oh, it's not you, it's me, you know. Like, yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. So I laid in bed for a week. I didn't want to tell any of my girlfriends because I was so embarrassed that they're now getting married. They're now moving into having children. And here I was single again. And I was like, I got to figure this out. I need to understand how men think. Why do they do what they do? What keeps them interested? What makes them commit? What makes them lose interest and maybe cheat? Why do they choose certain women? Like, I wanted to know everything I could. And that's what led me on that path. But along the way, I discovered like, oh, wait a minute. I have some stuff here too. Oh man, my own childhood, my own ways of believing and modeling relationships and what love was. I didn't realize I had my own limiting beliefs around that. And so as much as you can understand men, if you don't really love yourself, there's a disconnect. And as much as you love yourself and you can do all the self-work you want, but you don't understand men, there's this really disconnect. And it's really being able to bridge that gap.
So you need to have both.
Yeah.
An understanding of yourself and your patterns, and also an understanding of how men behave.
Yeah. And what makes a relationship work, or what creates that connection and longevity. Absolutely. And so it's that journey. And so lo and behold, that's what I ended up starting to coach women on from a lot of my own experience, and then much training since then.
Wow. That's like what everybody wants to know. Everyone
I know.
wants to know.
Why, how do you find a long-lasting relationship, and why do men act the way that they do?
Why? Tell us why. It's so confusing sometimes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So obviously, when we talk about dating, I think we can kind of steer away from online dating. It has become, the norm in modern age dating, especially during COVID. It's hard to meet in person. So there's something called like the dating app fatigue, when you're just mindlessly swiping to get like one good date. What is your advice for someone to, to avoid the dating burnout, or to how to get past the initial small talk?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think a lot of times, because right now we're a bit bored, like we don't have a lot else going on, we will lean to an app because we're looking for a bit of that quick validation.
Yeah.
So if we're looking with that intent to get validated, to feel good about ourselves, we will mindlessly go through it. Or if we're trying to find something to do if you can't get out. But what happens is when we're looking on an app with that kind of intention to fill that void, to feel being bored, to feel good, to feel someone wants me, with that intention, it's not always going to be matched well. And what happens is if it's not happening, right, we don't get that like, or we don't get a conversation started, or we don't get a phone number, it starts to wear on our confidence and our self-worth. And then it starts to play into this story of like, see, there is no good people out there. This is not going to work. Why am I even bothering? Or you'll be looking through the app and you're like, there's not even anyone I want to message.
I don't like right now. But I totally agree with you where I think when my intention isn't clear, I'm just doing it because I'm bored. It's like, I don't meet anyone and I'm like, it actually drains me.
Totally.
Yeah.
And what also will drain you is the lack of follow through, right?
Yeah.
So if you're sending the messages or you start a conversation and then it doesn't go anywhere, that's exhausting too, because you're waiting and hoping. And so you're like, oh God, why am I even doing this? And then you get into a bit of a head story. So I highly recommend in this moment to like take some breaks, like put your account on pause or hide it for a week or two and really focus on you. Start doing the things that you enjoy doing, right? Go back out with your girlfriends, get on a call with them if where you're living is restricted, right? Do those things that bring back passion in life, and then you'll be more energized to then go back onto the dating apps. But the key is when you're going on that app, the other thing that will drain you is if you're always looking to find the one, right? You're looking to find that guy, that long-term committed relationship, maybe looking for that partner for a future. So the pressure's high. Yeah. And so when we have a high pressure level, then when we're looking, we're like, he's not it. That's not going to work. Oh my God, there's nobody on here I'm going to find to marry or to be with or start a family with, whatever that goal is, as opposed to, oh, wait, what if I take a different approach? What if I look at it like, oh, I'm just going to learn more about men, right? Maybe this could be some information data gathering. Or maybe I can learn about myself, how to ask really good conversations and good questions. And I can understand my values more by the way I engage with men and see how I feel. Like you can learn more from that approach than trying to find the one. Yeah. When you're in that energy, it definitely will create the
I totally have to agree with what you're saying, because I recently downloaded the app again, and my way of thinking is completely different, where I'm like, I'm not looking here to find the one. I'm here to discover what I like and don't like in a man. And I'm just going to go on dates and to discover that. And even if they don't work out, I'm completely okay. Even the guy, I was like, I really want this to work. Or like, I don't know, there's like no pressure. And like, well, I discover this whole process is just for me to know what I like and what I don't like.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so by knowing this, I'm one step closer to finding whatever, the guy. I don't want to come to the one. But
totally.
Yeah.
And what you may find, you're a lot more energized by it because you don't have that pressure and you're actually having more of like, oh, isn't that interesting? As opposed to, oh, gosh, are you kidding me?
Yeah, for sure.
And that changes it. So good on you.
Something that might make you all feel better is that I have a friend that recently applied to a job for one of the dating apps, like doing data analysis. And he did tell me that like the point of these apps is to not make you find the one or someone that you're closely matched with. Like the algorithm shows like you people that are probably not the best match for you. Yeah. So you're really always on the app.
Oh,
and kind of like have that feeling like, oh, like when am I ever gonna find that person? Kind of.
That is so sneaky. That is such marketing to keep you hooked.
Exactly. I don't know if it's all the apps, but like the specific one he was applying for did do that. So I'm like, ooh, okay.
It wouldn't be surprising. But the other way you could look at it, because that feels like, so like a gut punch, right? You're like, you app, you're supposed to be for me, not against me. But the way you could reframe that is, oh, wow, I get to look at all these different types of men I wouldn't normally go for that aren't my type. Because sometimes when we have our type, what we think we want isn't actually a really good compatible partner, and we'll miss really good opportunities. So if you can look at it like, oh, I don't know if this is exactly what I'm looking for, but I'll at least start a conversation and see. You can discover, like you were saying, a lot more options or different ways men show up that you're like, oh, I didn't even know that would be important to me.
Well, actually, I have a follow-up question to that. Do you think chemistry is more important than compatibility, or compatibility is more important?
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people that they're like, oh, Diana, you're looking for this type of person, but you might not be compatible with them in the end.
Right.
They might not be the right partner for you, even though,
That's an interesting question. I would really do a deep dive with you on what is chemistry and what is compatibility, because I believe compatibility is really important. But compatibility is based on your values. It's based on who you are. And a lot of times as women, we don't even know who we are. We are adaptable. We can adjust so often. You may find you're a different person in a past relationship than you are with your friends, than you are in your career. Like, we're very adaptable. So finding who your true essence is part of that journey, knowing what your values are, and then looking for someone that complements it based on their values, right? So that's the first piece around compatibility. Chemistry, though, you do need to have some level of sexual tension. some sexual energy.
So you do think that's important?
It is.
Okay.
However, sometimes we put that first and we'll use that. But I really believe you can build chemistry based on the more you get to know somebody. Sometimes we think we need it right away. And that goes into more of our attachment styles, right? There's the anxious attachment, the avoidant attachment, secure. And when we're used to always that hot, cold energy, we associate sometimes that as chemistry. And so it's learning to decipher what is true chemistry, what is an actual connection.
Right. Oh, that's such a good point.
Compared to this push-pull energy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so online dating is not everybody's cup of tea. For me, I really don't like it, but it's such a norm right now. I really miss meeting people organically. So do you think meeting in real life is still possible? It just seems so difficult, especially in a city like Vancouver.
Yes, I hear that though. So I have clients around the world from like LA and New York, London, Australia, and I get the same thing. There's no good men in my city.
I know, I hear that a lot too.
Everywhere. And I think it's our energy we're putting out there, what we're looking for, kind of back to our last conversation. But I really do believe you can meet men anywhere. I met my fiance on a SkyTrain escalator.
Oh my gosh.
And so I really believe you can meet anyone. I've had clients meet a man at a gas station pump, like pumping her gas.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I've had a client meet at like a meetup. It was one of these meetups, but get this, it was a pig farm. It was one of these like organic way of farming. And she met her guy at this farm workshop meetup.
Yeah.
So I really believe you can meet men anywhere. The key is how we do it and the approach. Right now I have this coming up called the Wing Girl Experience. I'm taking a woman out specifically to go out to meet men.
Oh my God.
And teaching her how to do it. Because she says the same thing. She's like, I'm so nervous. I don't know how to make eye contact. Or if someone approaches me, I shut her down. And so I think sometimes we miss a lot of opportunities that we're not aware of because we're shy. And I think the biggest reason why we're shy is because we don't know how to get out of a situation. So we don't put ourselves in the situation to begin with, right? So if a guy starts talking to us or a person and we're not really that into them, we're like, oh God, now what? Like, I don't know what to do. It's so awkward. I don't know what to say. And so when we feel that way, we won't make eye contact. We won't smile to make that occurrence happen.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make
really
sense?
Good point.
So we will avoid it. But if you're really comfortable exiting and saying, oh, thanks so much for chatting with me, or I'm going to head on, I got my friends to meet, or I'm going to keep mingling if it's at an event, maybe I'll see you later on. You've learned how to exit so smoothly.
I do have to say, when I am like enjoying talking to people and I'm like on a roll, and then I have like more and more men come talk to me, it's kind of like, like, oh my God, this girl is like really sought after. And somehow I don't know.
Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because your energy says you're approachable and you'll give anyone an opportunity to talk to. So he knows you're easy in the sense of like, to make you smile, that you're happy, you can engage in a conversation. He's not gonna get rejected right away because he's witnessed other men talk to you and not be rejected. Same thing if you go out to a pub or somewhere and you're smiling, making eye contact, and a few men, maybe they're not your type, you talk to them and smile and say, thanks so much, or thanks for the drink, I'm not interested, but thank you. You create that visual that you're very approachable, and other men will then make their move.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. Well, I'm curious to hear your story of how you met your fiance. Escalator.
We were going up, and do you know, I'm sure in most cities you have like the fast lane and the slow lane on an escalator. He was in the wrong line, the wrong side. And I started bantering. And bantering is really hot to men. It means you can joke as a woman. You're confident. You can tease. You're willing to take it back. And I said, did you know you're on the wrong side? Like, you're on the wrong side. And he's like, what? What are you talking about? Like, you're on the wrong angle. Like, where are you going? Anyways, we chatted. By the time we got to the top, he's like, him and his friend were like, where are you going tonight? I'm like, I'm going home. And they're like, oh, really? We're going out for drinks. I'm like, oh, you should go check out this place. It's got a great rooftop. And they're like, well, why don't you come? And I'm like, oh, I'm tired. I just taught a workshop. And they said, oh, what did you teach? And I said, oh, I teach women how to meet men. And they're like, you're coming with us. But before you know it, I was off, and that's how it all started.
Okay. Wow.
But yeah, it's that willing to take those opportunities.
Yes.
It's willing to not be attached, like you were saying, to that outcome. It's willing to have fun. In my mind, I'm not like, oh, this is it, right? He was cute, but it wasn't like, this is the guy I want to be with. But it's having fun in that moment that allows you to open up to see possibilities.
Oh, amazing. I love that.
Yeah. You were like point proven, or they were like... So do you believe in creating a sort of dating checklist with all the qualities that you're looking for in a partner?
Yeah, I hear that all the time. Here's my list, Nicole. Like you're ordering pizza, you know, like here's what I want and then I'm good to go. And I think there's two parts to that. I think a list is valuable, but beyond the list, you really want to ask yourself, why are these qualities important to you? If he showed up with these qualities, what would you be feeling? Why do you want these aspects in this match? How do you want to feel? And that's more important than the list, right? Yeah, you can get kind of the visual, and people put like tall, successful, right? Active. And then you're asking yourself, okay, why is that important? Well, if he's tall, I feel really safe because I want to feel a little bit smaller than him. Okay, fair enough. Or I want him to be successful. Why? Because I love someone who's got drive and we can have these really good conversations about business. Okay, that's a good point. So you're asking yourself, what's underneath that list? Why are these qualities important? And that's where you want to go. And then from there, building those feelings. So if you're like, oh, I really want to feel safe, and then start creating an image. Well, what would it feel like to feel safe with somebody? And if you felt safe, what would show up? Would you be more vulnerable? Does safe mean like, oh, I could share that I'm having a really bad day and not worry about it because I don't always have to be on and look like I'm always happy? Is that what safe feels like? Is it being able to express like some disappointment and knowing that he's okay with it? Like really identifying these deeper, if that makes sense, right? Because your list is superficial until you add the feelings and then the experiences and what that will offer you as a person in a relationship like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm like thinking in my head right now. I have to go reevaluate my list. Yeah.
Why did I write this down?
Yeah. So this is a question I think you address as well. And I hear from a lot of women. They have, no problem meeting men, but they have a lot of, it's hard for them to meet emotionally available men. So why do you think that's the case? Do you think it's like the women's issue, or do you think, why are they attracting unavailable men? And what is your advice to them for finding men who are ready for commitment?
I think as individuals, we can attract either or. So I have men that'll come to me and say, I'm attracting women that aren't available. So it's not a gender. Yeah. Although we would like to think it's a gender thing, for sure. It makes us feel much better. But the reality is how we feel about ourselves is what we will attract out. So if we don't feel very deserving, we will attract someone that doesn't treat us very well. Or if the other piece is, let's say you're really nervous about getting hurt and maybe had a bad breakup already, or maybe you're like self-conscious, we will attract somebody that really won't give us that commitment, because then we can't really invest and we can't get that vulnerable to get hurt again. So we will attract people at our level of comfort, and we'll attract at our level of what feels safe to us. Even though you may be doing all the apps, you may be doing all the work, and you're like, why isn't this happening? Then you want to start looking inside and being like, what am I really afraid of? What am I uncomfortable with? And that may start to reveal why these patterns keep showing up. The other piece you'll find too is a lot of times we will attract based on our attachments, which I kind of led to a little bit, are avoidant, anxious, and secure. We will sometimes do the opposite. So if we're really anxious, we may attract someone who's quite the avoidant, right? Because it activates that. So definitely do some research on that, or reach out and I can share more, but that can be a piece to it. And then the other piece is that we will also attract from our childhood experiences. So if we had a partner or a parent that wasn't really as loving or as supportive as we want, or our parents' model of relationships wasn't ideal, we will unconsciously attract that partner very similar to either one of those experiences, trying to fix that childhood experience. So there's a lot of reasons, and it's not just the guys not showing up. It's a lot of our own stuff. In that piece. If I remember I was saying when I was attracting, I discovered all my stuff. I discovered that while I was doing all this work, I attracted a lot of men that weren't very available, or workaholics, or just not that into me. And I was like, why? Like, I'm this amazing girl. Why don't you want me? And then what I discovered is I was attracting like traits of my dad. And I so wanted to be part of his family. He had remarried. I had a stepmom, and it was just a whole new family dynamic that I couldn't really get in. And so I was always trying to get them to include me in their family dynamic. Well, lo and behold, if I look, I did it in my love life. I was desperately trying to get these men to want me and to include me and to make me feel a part of their world. And I would do all these things that weren't always aligned to me and out of my boundaries just to get that love. So we will do things unconsciously.
I think that that's like in all aspects of our life. I think especially with, I know friends who have, in their professional life, personal life too, when they don't kind of, have these, I don't want to call them trauma, but in a way they are trauma, from childhood, from parents, and these patterns, and if they don't kind of work to resolve them, it kind of, manifests and affect all aspects of their life.
Absolutely. So, and trauma doesn't have to be extreme, but it's just ways we've learned behaviors that may not be working now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And for somebody that's been single for a long time and maybe feeling a little jaded, do you have any advice on how to get them back in the game?
Yeah. It kind of goes back to that, maybe that dating fatigue, maybe they had a bad breakup, maybe they just don't want to. I think a lot of sometimes we're jaded because we're just been hurt. So really being able to give yourself that time so you're not feeling so hurt, that you feel really fulfilled, that you feel really connected to your friends, your circle, that feels good. Because if you go into dating a bit jaded, or it's not going to work out, or all I'm going to meet is unavailable men, or the men I work only give me a first date, like any of those stories, or, you know, he's probably going to ghost me anyways, what's the point? That energy, unconsciously, you'll attract those exact experiences. And you're like, see, I told you all, like this what would happen. And sure enough, but it's because you had such a deep belief that that's what was going to happen. It started to show up that way. So to get back out there, you have to have this new feeling of confidence in yourself, or feeling lovable and desirable, deserving, so that when you go back out there, that your experiences will be different.
It's like you need to raise your vibration, I think, and attract like what you put out there.
Totally, and your standards and boundaries and your value of your sense of self and what you deserve, so that you're like, oh, and if you do come across something that doesn't work, you're so quick to identify it. And you're like, nope, this isn't going to work for me. I don't want that experience. I'm better than that, or I don't want to deal with this anymore, and end it quick, as opposed to, oh, great.
That's really good advice.
Yeah, I think we all know people who, after like a breakup or something, they jump from person to person trying to find like somebody right away, but that's probably not very healthy. So.
And what I'd say to that is that's really common, because it's that whole concept, get over someone by getting understood.
I was going to say that.
Hello. So there's some truth to that. I get it, right? But at the same time, what happens is we can get attached to that wrong person that we were just trying to get over. So there's something to be cautious in that. The other thing is I really get my women to take a deep dive in, like, looking back in their past relationships and really reflecting. And so get a piece of paper, put it in half, and put the guy's name on top, and write all the positive qualities about him and all the negative about him and the relationship. And you can start to see your own patterns. And then you can be like, okay, this is working, this isn't working. This is what I want more of. But a lot of times we don't take that time. We just move into the next relationship and not knowing what didn't work last time, or how I really want to feel this time, or what are my boundaries now? What are my standards? Because we just kind of keep moving forward. So it's really key to take some time to reflect.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for sure.
We talked about how to meet someone, now let's move on to the actual dating process. What are some relationship boundaries you think you would advise your clients to set on the first date?
Boundaries, yes. Well, there's always the typical, like, don't talk about your ex. Right? Like, that never bodes well. I think it's important to be able to identify what you want, right? Although on the first date, it's a tricky part, right? Because on that first date, the premise is you want to have fun. That's the main thing. But a lot of times as women, unconsciously, we go in trying to see if he's going to fit what we're looking for. So in our mind, we're listening. Oh, he works weekends? Well, that's not going to work. I really want to go hiking on the weekends. This is not going to work. And we like, done. The date's over. It's like I'm like,
he doesn't have a car.
Right? Great. I don't want to be taking a bike over to see him, like, right? Or picking him up. So we're listening to what he has to say of whether or not we agree or not. So the boundary in a weird way is to stay open and to actually just have fun. And then on that second date, then talk about you're looking for maybe a committed relationship long-term, you're dating people to find that right person, or you're looking for a family or children or whatever is important to you. Bring that up. But I would wait for the second date. First date, have fun. Right?
Just get to know each other. Right?
And enjoy and see how your energy feels. And did you feel comfortable? And at first, the conversation is going to be awkward. Let's be honest. It's awkward, right? And so are you going to write it off that quickly? Are you willing to go on a second date to kind of see if there's anything else? Like, because sometimes we can read energy wrong because we're nervous.
Yes, that's so true. Or when you're having a bad day, or if he's having a bad day, and that can totally. So it's like, I tend to tell my women, if they're willing to go on that second date, because it just gives you a bit more information. It also helps you understand how you're really feeling, ask different questions, stay curious, instead of trying to know if he's the one right away that you want to invest in and not waste your time. I hear that a lot. The reality is, if you're approaching dating with the opportunity to expand and learn, you're not wasting your time. You're gaining valuable information. Totally.
So speaking of boundaries, do you believe we should wait to have sex? And how long do you think we should wait?
Ooh.
I feel like this is a
Hot
question.
topic.
Right?
What are the rules?
Yeah,
Or are there any rules?
so this is my belief. There are no rules.
Okay.
I don't believe there's rules. I think women are super independent women now.
Yeah.
We're modern. We can do what we want when we want. And I really believe that. What I find, though, is what happens is when we sleep with a man, our oxytocin hormone gets released. And that hormone naturally creates a bonding effect with that guy. And so we will naturally start attaching to him and wanting to see him, even if we weren't even sure we liked him. And so what happens is this hormone starts to override and we start to get blinders. It's an actual chemical release in the brain that you cannot now decipher red flags, behaviors that aren't aligned, boundaries, because this hormone's clouding you. And it lasts 12 days in the body. So if you're going to sleep with somebody, know that that's going to happen. Okay, number one. Number two, if let's say you want a one night stand or you just wanted this to be casual, then you need to know, okay, what do I need to lessen that oxytocin in my body? How do I decrease this so I'm not pining after some guy that I don't even know if I like? Yes. So ways to do that is through massage. Anything that's tactile, massage, one of those blowout hairs, get your hair done, get your nails done, a pedicure, anything that's tactile helps to lessen that oxytocin. Also, a really good conversation. So you have a really good girlfriend. Just talk. Don't talk about him because it's just going to create that hormone more. Yeah. But talk about life, talk about traveling, talk about a really good memory. Even like cuddling a dog, right? Any of that emotional intimacy will help decrease that oxytocin. So your brain can start to kind of think again. Yeah. So be smart. That's all I tell my women. Like if you're going to have sex, just make sure you know that that's going to happen. And what do you need to feel empowered faster rather than relying on this guy? Yeah. The other piece is I tend to tell my women, if you're dating, right, and you're dating lots of different men, that's great. Where you may draw the line for her or yourself is unless we're exclusive, like we're only going to date each other now and just be with each other, then I'm not going to sleep with you because I know in my body what's going to happen. I'm going to get attached to you and I'm going to have a really hard time still dating all these men because I'm going to feel like I'm cheating now and I'm not loyal and right? And so, or you may find he's seeing somebody else and now you're attached and now you feel like you are being cheated on. So it just has a lot of complexity. So I find for my women to avoid some of that emotional drama, set a boundary for you, whatever that is, right? After so many dates, or if you're only going to see each other, whatever's going to help you feel empowered is the key. Not about rules, but what do you need to feel really grounded and secure in that? I had a client, can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah, for sure.
She was at the gym and she's like, oh, this guy's really cute, I think he's really cute. And she's like kind of macking on him, like in the sense, like checking him out often. Eventually he asked her for her number. They chatted and went for a number and she's like, oh my gosh, this is so great. I think I really like him. 2 dates in, third date, they sleep together. But on the second date, she's like, I don't know if I really like him. Like, I don't know if he's got what I'm looking for. But anyways, they went on the third date, a little bit too much wine, ended up sleeping together. Then she's like, I really like him. He's amazing. Like from one date to be like, I don't know if I really like him. He's kind of got some quirks. I don't know if we're on the same page. So I really, really like him. And I think this is going to be great. And I can really see a future with him. And then she's like, 7 days in, she's like, why am I still liking him? Why haven't I heard from him? I don't understand why he hasn't called. And like all that emotion. Yeah. And then by day, like 2 weeks, so about 18 days later, she's like, you remember that gym guy? I was like, the guy you really like. She's like, yeah, I'm not into him anymore. I was like,
is that the oxytocin?
Yeah, like, way
so
not
accurate. That's so accurate. I was like,
she's like, I don't even know what I was thinking, and like, we're just so not on the same page. Yeah. Like, I don't even really want to see him for that 5th date. Like, it's not even a big of a deal. Okay. But in that period, this is the guy. Like, this is amazing. And prior to that, she's like, I don't know, right? And so it's just so funny to watch her. And as we talked about, she's like, oh shoot, that was the oxytocin you told me about. And I was like, yes. So sometimes we don't even realize we're in it. Because we're dating, we're having fun, and we want that freedom. And it's okay to have the freedom, but just know your body's going to do things without you being in control.
What happens to a man's body?
Yeah, you don't get that.
Yeah.
Straight up. So, right? So that's why he's like, why is she wanting me to call? Why is she needing me so bad? It's that oxytocin's not being released in him. And that's why women will feel clingy. And we feel clingy because that oxytocin is really driving our needing reassurance. We want to feel validated. We want to know we're together, or we want to know we're not together. So at least call me and tell me we're not together, even though there's no need for him to. It's that need of reassurance is what's happening when that hormone's flooding our body.
That's very good to know. That explains a lot.
That explains a lot. Yeah. Have you heard of the law of polarity? It's the idea that, attraction and intimate connection thrive in a relationship where there's distinct polarity between the masculine and the feminine energies. It's not based on gender, so either person can embody either energy. Do you agree that, you should cultivate or embrace your own natural energy to attract more of the opposite energy in return? So like if I have more, I guess, masculine energy, should I be trying to find a person, a guy who has more feminine energy?
Yeah, good question. So I'll back it up. So masculine energy is the doing energy. It's the energy that gets stuff done. It's very linear. It's very focused. A lot of my career women have a lot of that energy, right? Yeah. Running your own business, or maybe you're a household, you're a single mom, you're managing your house. You've got a lot of that doing energy. Feminine energy is very spontaneous. It's creative. It's flowy. It's intuition. It's very creative in the sense that it just moves, right? And so we need both, like you're saying. And men and women will have different amounts. The difference with men is theirs is kind of set. Whatever percentage is them, that's them. Us women, we have a volume. We can turn ours up or down. So we can turn down that masculine. We can turn up our feminine. If we're looking for a man who's that type A person that's going to take the initiative, take the drive, that's going to organize the dates, that's going to plan, that you can feel like you can lean back and be taken care of, in the sense, not that you need him to, but you feel this, I can though, you're going to want a guy who's got more of that masculine energy, right? You're going to want that energy where he's taking the lead, and very much that. What happens though with my women, if you're already in that masculine energy, two of those energies will repel each other.
Right.
They will naturally repel. So in order to make it like connect, we need to learn how to turn down that masculine energy and turn up that feminine energy. So in order that energy won't be repelling, or that guy. So here's an example. A lot of men will go on first dates with a really beautiful, successful woman, but he just won't call her again. And she'll be like, I don't understand why. Like, I thought we had a really good connection. I don't get it. And he'll say, I just didn't feel it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't feel it. And what he's saying is her energy took over.
Right.
She's taking over the conversation. She's telling him where to park or what to order. Like, she's in that masculine energy of the doing, and he doesn't necessarily feel he fits in. And so it won't land. And so it's not about our looks. So feminine energy is about looks. It's a way we feel about ourselves and how we show up in the engagement.
That's funny. I actually had a date during COVID, like during the quarantine.
Yeah.
And I guess he was a life coach, like still in school. And we just talked over video.
Yeah.
But like randomly he was just like, I feel like you have a lot of masculine energy. And I'm like, excuse me?
Well, because you're, I feel like in your work, like you're very career oriented, you're an entrepreneur. So like you have to have, masculine energy, I guess. Like Nicole said, you're a doer. So
yeah. And I was talking about my business like when
you
brought that up. So I guess
yeah, it would totally fit, right? And so we think that's an insult, as opposed to, I totally can. And I know how to turn it down and how to be soft and how to let a man take care of and do things and being able to receive. Part of feminine energy is all of receiving. And a lot of times as women, we might be really uncomfortable to receive. We might have gotten hurt. We might not trust that men will actually follow through. We might have a lot of guardedness. And so a lot of the work I do with my women is helping them to heal some of that stuff around feminine energy, because we think it's weak to be feminine. Yeah. And in fact, it is so powerful. It's like, I want to say it's more powerful, but it's not. But it is really significantly creates this beautiful dynamic when we allow ourselves to be there.
I feel like especially like a lot of women have to be more masculine at work, or exhibit that masculine energy, to get more opportunities, to, so I think it's like you said, it's like, how do we turn it or dial up the feminine energy, in our dating and relationship? Yeah.
One example is like, let's say you're going on a date, or even if it's a video call, or you're going to meet in person, or you're going for happy hour, whatever it is, allow yourself transition time. Allow yourself a few minutes before you rush off, whether you're working from home and you're just going to turn your camera on and you're going to go online looking for guys, or you're going to do your video call, or you're rushing out from your work meeting to meet happy hour or to go on a date. You will carry that energy right into that next moment without even knowing it, right? Because you're very much, I don't want to be late. I want to get this done. What's the purpose? And your energy will feel it. So take like 5 minutes, and you can either put music on and put on some like booty moving, shaking music, get a little playlist, right? I call it like get going, like feeling good, get on your sexy, right? It's just an energy. You could change your outfit. That'll help. Remember, it's career outfit and now feminine dating energy outfit, right? Just a little bit of that can help. It could be when you get home, it could be lighting candles, having a bath, burning incense or essential oils can help change that state. Anything that'll help you breathe, relax, and get into your body will help you get into your feminine. Because masculine's heady, like lots of your head, and feminine's more body embodiment.
So we have some personal well-being questions for you.
Okay.
What is your go-to wellness or self-care ritual or practice?
I would say right now I'm really into some breath work. I find that's really interesting. I'm enjoying breath work as a ritual and some hypnotherapy meditations. I really like that. So those would be my things at this moment.
And what is your favorite way to decompress?
Decompress. I love doing baths. I love hot baths with wine, bubble baths. I love that. And then probably just being outside, I think is really good. Whether it's like hugging a tree or putting your feet on the grass or in the sand, I definitely find that really helps.
So tell us what you're going to be working on or what you're currently working on and what are your goals or plans for the future?
Yeah, I'm loving what I'm doing. A lot of the focus is helping women really break through these barriers, these emotional stuff that they're unaware of. Like when we get emotionally hijacked, when we feel triggered and we don't know why, or why we keep repeating the same patterns. And so a lot of the work I do is helping women. And so a recent program I've just launched and will be launching again, it's called Mental Fitness for Love. And the idea is all about this internal fitness in your mindset and how to rewire your brain from that neuroplasticity so we aren't getting triggered all the time. Or when we do get triggered, how do we get out of that trigger much quicker? And so I love that piece because I think that plays into all aspects of our life. But I find dating, it can show up a lot and giving women those tools. So that's my thing that I'm really enjoying right now.
That's really cool. And you mentioned before that you're starting to work with men now as well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. I was just saying that I'm having a lot of men reach out. And my website, if you look at me, I'm girdly. I'm as girly as you get. And I think they're coming because they're looking for that female perspective on dating. But I've said to like all of them, I'm like, can I record you? Because you are saying exactly what I tell my women, but they don't believe me. I need to record this conversation. They're like, what? I'm like, I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you, I'm teaching my women not to do what you're talking about. So yes, you may see that in the future of these men clients that are like sharing their insight secrets.
That's so cool. Like we need more men that are more aware of this. And
totally. I think it also just to let them know that like, hey, it's okay to like, seek help and guidance and it's okay to be vulnerable and have feelings. So,
absolutely. And I don't think we were ever taught how to do relationships, right?
No
training. And yet there's so much stigma around failure and you didn't figure it out. And it's so sad that we haven't gotten those tools.
Yeah.
So I think it's great.
Well, this was amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Nicole.
Thank you. So fun.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Luna Nectar Universe with Mia and Diana. Get nectarized.